Board of County Commissioners acts as a quasi-judicial body when it hears requests for rezoning and conditional use permits. Applicants must provide competent, substantial evidence establishing facts or expert witness opinion testimony showing that the request meets the zoning code and comprehensive plan criteria. Opponents must also testify as to facts or provide expert testimony whether they like or dislike a request is not competent evidence. The board must then decide whether the evidence demonstrates consistency and compatibility with the comprehensive plan and the existing rules in the zoning ordinance, property adjacent to the property to be rezoned, and the actual development of the surrounding area. The board cannot consider speculation, non-expert opinion testimony, or poll the audience by asking those in favor or opposed to stand up or raise their hands. If a commissioner has had communications regarding a rezoning or conditional use permit request before the board, the commissioner must disclose the subject of the communication and the identity of the person, group, or entity with whom the communication took place before the board takes action on the request. Likewise, if a commissioner has made a site visit, inspection, or investigation, the commissioner must disclose that fact before the board takes action on the request. Each applicant is allowed a total of 15 minutes to present their request, unless time is extended by majority vote of the board. The applicant may reserve any portion of the 15 minutes for rebuttal. Other speakers are allowed 5 minutes to speak. Speakers may not pass their time to someone else in order to give that person more time to speak.
Well, good evening. Welcome to the zoning meeting of Thursday, May 2nd, 2024. We have our Pastor Osborne of Friendship Primitive here. We need a little blessing tonight, Pastor, so help us out.
Our Father and our God, we come today with thanksgiving, thanking you, God, for just allowing us to see another day's journey. God, we thank you, God, for this gathering today. God, we pray, God, that you would be present in this meeting on this afternoon, God. And God, we pray, God, that you would continue to bless the residents of this county. And God, we say a special blessing be upon the leaders of this county, God, that you would give them the wisdom and the courage, God, to lead the great residents of this county, God. And, oh, God, we will be very thankful and continue to give you the praise, the glory, and all of the honor. It is in the mighty and most magnificent name of Jesus the Christ we do pray. Amen.
Amen. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Do I have a motion for approval of the minutes, please? So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion to approve by Commissioner Tobias, seconded by Commissioner Feltner. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries. We have no resolutions, awards, and presentations this evening. We have no consent agenda this evening. Public hearings, G1, Suzanne Cook. Jeff, you up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item G1 is
before we go, do we need a motion to allow?
Please and thank you.
Motion to allow Commissioner Goodson to participate telephonically?
We do. Thank you so very much.
I'd like to make that motion.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second.
To allow Commissioner Goodson to participate by phone. Thanks to you, Commissioner Tobias, for doing that. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Okay, Commissioner Goodson, you can't say a word, though. You can just listen, okay?
I'm not sure of that, Chair.
Okay, so G1, Jeff, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item G1 is Suzanne Cook requests a conditional use permit for a guest house in RU 1-13. Zoning classification application numbers 24Z00007, tax account number 2431745, located in District 2. It is being requested the board continue this public hearing to the June 10th, 2024 P&Z meeting and the July 11th, 2024 BCC meeting.
Okay, do we need a motion for that? Morris?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I would like to make that motion, but exactly what staff.
Okay, I think you're making the motion, yes. Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay. Going on to G2, Christopher Strozier.
Christopher Strozier requests to change the zoning classification from RU 1-9 to RU 1-11, application numbers 23Z00086, tax account numbers 2104016, located in District 1.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve it.
Motion on the floor to approve G2. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. G3, Jonathan Emily Schoolfield requests to change the zoning classification. Hit it, Jeff.
Jonathan and Emily Schoolfield request to change the zoning classification from AU to RRMH-1, application numbers 24Z00001, tax account numbers 2443960, located in District 1.
I make a motion to approve it, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Pritchett makes a motion to approve. Commissioner Feltner seconds. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The motion carries. Going to G4, I believe. Is
Thank you,
that
Mr.
correct?
Chair. Item G4 is William and Jeanette Gonedridge request to change the zoning classification from RR-1 to AUL and removal of an existing BDP. Application number is 24Z0003. Tax account number is 2000372, located in District 1.
Sir, I make a motion to approve.
Thank you very much. There's a motion from Commissioner Pritchett, the commissioner
I'll
from the
second.
district, seconded by Commissioner Feltner. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The motion carries. Jeff, you want to hit it up for the G5, or should we call Kim up? What do you want to do here?
Can I read this into the record and you can call Kim up?
Absolutely.
So item G5 is Gen Florida 48 LLC requests a large-scale comprehensive plan amendment 2023-2 to change the future land use designation from Res 1 to 2.5 to Res 4 in CC. Application numbers 23LS 00001. Tax account numbers are 3000277, 3000368, 3000827, and 3000829, located in District 5. Before you turn it over to Ms. Rezanka, I just wanted to explain to the board and the residents that are out there, this is a two-step process. This application has the potential to transmit this up to the state for its review. So the board has a couple different options with this. They can recommend approval to transmit, they can recommend denial, they can recommend what the applicant has requested for as far as the Res 4, or they can make the recommendation along with the LPA recommendation. So, like I said, this is just a transmittal. What the board is signifying is that they've reviewed the application and it is sufficient for the state to review and to provide comments back. So when it comes back down for this application, it'll go through the same process with the LPA and the board for the adoption hearing.
All right, you've completely confused me now. So, no matter what we do, if we pass it, it's got to go to Tallahassee. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, yes. This
Okay.
is just the transmittal to send this up to the state
All right,
for the
got it.
review.
I got it. Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Rezanka?
Good evening, Chairman Steele, members of the County Commission. My name is Kim Rezanka, Lacey Lyons Rezanka, 1290 US 1 in Rockledge. I'm here on behalf of Sunterra Communities, which is in partnership with Gen Florida 48 LLC. Representing Sunterra is Richard German, Jimmy Dunn, and Dan Edwards. They're here if you have any questions for them. They don't intend to present unless you have questions. We also have the engineer of record, which is Poulos and Bennett. There are two engineers here, Mark Stiley and Andrew Ivy, and also the land planner, Jesse Anderson, who's formerly the Assistant Growth Management Director at Palm Bay. Also, we have the transportation engineer, James Taylor, with Kimley Horn. As you know, we are here on a future land use amendment for 1,110 acres. We are still seeking a future land use on the 1,082.57 acres of Res 4. We do agree that we will limit it to 3, but we are still seeking Res 4. We're also seeking 27.33 acres of community commercial to allow for almost 400,000 square foot of retail. The location is South Brevard County, about 3.5 miles north of the Brevard County line. It is adjacent to Deer Run. It is adjacent to Babcock Street, and it is not in Palm Bay. It is Palm Bay to the north and to the east and to the south, but it is not adjacent to Palm Bay in any way. The property to the north, Rolling Meadows, and to the west was at one point in Palm Bay, but was de-annexed by the Florida legislature many years ago. As you can see from the location map in front of you, it does abut 507, which is Babcock Street. What is hard to see, but you'll see later, is there is a 100-foot drainage ditch that surrounds this entire property, separates it from Deer Run and from the property to the north. The property to the north is a strip of land, a spite strip, S-P-I-T-E, not spike strip as the LPA minutes. That was done by Mr. Sartori and his company, Jarrett Holdings. That's so to prevent annexation into Palm Bay, essentially. It varies from 75 feet to 120 feet. So that is what stops the adjacency to Palm Bay. This is the bubble plan for the PUD. That is not before you, but this is to show you why we're seeking Res 4. This is hopefully what will come before you if this is adopted, and it will come back to you sometime maybe August or September after it comes back from the state. The zoning will be with the application for the comp plan adoption. This would allow 3,246 homes, commercial of $398,000. As I said, this is a very large development. It has lots of open space, 468 acres of open space, 140 acres of active recreation, including a very large pond up there, which will be amenitized. And again, it's not engineered, but this is what they're hoping to do with active recreation and the commercial along Babcock in the square. This is a challenging project. The infrastructure is lacking down here, but as you know, the state has provided for a proportionate fair share agreement, so whatever is approved will have to have the infrastructure before it can be built. That's what your comp plan says, that's what Florida law says. So we are working through that with the school board, with the fire department, with the sheriff's department, and we have spoken to all of these entities, and we know what they're looking for. But growth is coming. I mean, this is an area that is I'm going the wrong way, I apologize. All right. Previous. I got way ahead of myself. I don't know what I did. I apologize. I'm not good with these.
Space Coast TV, maybe you can try the aerial that I have that really kind of points out all of the stuff in the neighborhood.
Back. One more.
There you go, Kim. Is that all
Okay.
right?
Well, that's fine, but that's just confusing me. But yes, if I can go back to my PowerPoint, that would be better. Space Coast Television. I'm trying to go one up to the development area. Right there. So as you can see, up to the north there, you have St. John Heritage Parkway, which has come in just about a half a mile to the north of here. There's a Publix that's going in right there at that corner. These are large developments which are at higher densities than what we are seeking. And this is Rolling Meadows has density of 2 units the acre, and then there's some Ashton Park over here. There's a lot of growth coming. There are 7 large-scale developments in this area within a 2-mile radius. This whole South Brevard area is in transition to higher density. There are current deficiencies in infrastructure, but there are solutions to that. Okay, we did have a community meeting on April 10th. We allowed people to attend virtually and in person. We were there 2.5 hours. There are a lot of concerns by Deer Run, as you can imagine, the traffic, schools, fire, density, and consistency, compatibility. Those are our zoning issues. We're not there yet. We have to get through future land use first. We do have here James Taylor, who's going to talk a little bit about traffic and Babcock Street.
Thank you. For the record, James Taylor with Kimley Horn and Associates. So as part of any future land use amendment, we do have to do a traffic study that evaluates for the short-term horizon, which is 10 years out, and then the long-term horizon, which we took all the way out to year 2045, what the impacts look like if this comprehensive amendment goes forward at its maximum intensity. So what you see on the screen here, a large blue circle, 5-mile radius, which was evaluated in the future land use amendment, and will also be evaluated in an upcoming, more detailed transportation impact study that's required by the county. We're working through a methodology for that future study, but for tonight, what I wanted to point out is just sort of some general conclusions from the future land use amendment evaluation, which showed that this area is going to be needing some capacity on Babcock Road from Grant down to Minco in those horizon years. The percentages show kind of the way that the traffic is anticipated to flow out of this project. And the red segments are segments which were part of the study area for this. So we have concluded in that study and evaluated and agree with the county staff that there will be some capacity that needs to be mitigated for in the future on Babcock Road between Grant and Minco. And I will stand by for any questions later after we're done with the presentation.
One of the issues that was raised by the community meeting is the buffering, because there is, those are large lots. These are going to be smaller lots. There's going to be a lot of green space. There's going to be a buffer around, but this is just a representative cross section, and this is for the property to the north, not the north, to the west and the south. As I said, there's an existing 100-foot drainage ditch that surrounds the entire property. And the developer's proposing to have a 50-foot buffer tract before you even get to the property lines of the individual homes. So this would be a minimum 150-foot buffer. Again, this is planning and zoning and rezoning, but we have thought about it. They are conscientious. They do want to make sure there's a visual sight buffer to the neighbors. And to the north, that's even more of a buffer. That's the spite strip, the 75 feet. There's actually two, and a 20 feet. And then there's 200 feet there, which sometimes it includes the canal and the right-of-way, sometimes it includes just the canal. But again, to the other side of the road, it's almost 300 feet. So there is a very large buffer to the north. As to school impacts, there is a concurrency review that's been provided. There is capacity to a certain extent up to 5 years, but then after that time, schools will need to be built, but there's proportionate fair share for that. There's impact fees of almost $16 million that this will generate, which will go to whatever needs to be built. There are many high school sites and elementary school sites and middle school sites in the area. There's about 7 sites owned by the school board within the vicinity or close vicinity of this property, and we've been working with the school board to identify what we can do to assist. As to fire and police response, there is an interlocal agreement with Palm Bay. There is mutual aid agreements also, and Sunterra does indeed want to make sure that the residents and the neighbors are secure and safe. We've talked to the sheriff's office, we've talked to the fire marshal Doug Carter, and we are working with them to help them as this progresses. Again, we're not there yet. This is just transmittal. At this point, I'd like to bring up Jesse Anderson. He's going to talk a little bit about the transitioning and the compatibility.
Commissioner Tobias, did you want to ask a question before this, or did your light's on?
That was the old light for the goods.
Okay, sorry. Sorry, go ahead.
Of course. Good evening, Jesse Anderson, 2602 East Livingston, Orlando, Florida, from Pullis and Bennett. Today I'm talking a bit about the compatibility of this overall development in terms of the general vicinity, and in And when we're talking about the general vicinity, that is something that is brought up, or relative proximity, I should say, by statute. So statute, again, does define compatibility as means a condition in which land uses or conditions can coexist in relative proximity to each other in a stable fashion over time, such that no user or condition is unduly negatively impacted directly or indirectly by another use or condition. So the important part about tonight, and what both Kim and James has mentioned, is that this is for the future land use element, or future land use amendment, I should say. And with that, this is talking about the maximum entitlements that would be governing this property. And as we go through continuous stages of development, those will become more restricted and more finite, such as through the planned development unit zoning district that we are providing for in a future development application. And that's where Kim had referenced that we are looking to restrict that property further down to 3 dwelling units per acre through that type of application. But tonight we are looking at the residential 4. So we are looking at the compatibility of that versus the general area, and of course that is the question at hand. So for the surrounding area, we do have a bit of, I would say, diversity in terms of what we have in the inner core versus the outer core of the area. So the inner core is showing a lot more of the residential 1 to 2.5 acres, whereas the outside core is showing a lot more intensity and density. And a lot of that has to do with the interchange that has come a long way, as well as the St. John's Heritage Parkway expansions. In addition to those efforts, we've seen a lot of entitlement changes in the Waterstone area, as well as Cypress Bay and Emerald Lakes. So for instance, Waterstone has a minimum of 5 dwelling units per acre. Cypress Bay has also a minimum of 5 dwelling units per acre, and Emerald Lakes is over 3 dwelling units per acre. In Cypress Bay and Waterstone, we also see them go upwards of 20 to 25 dwelling units per acre, depending on which future land use you're looking at. The neighborhood commercial having the most intensive and most dense as well. So when we look at our site, the reason we look for Res 4 is because it is seen as the most compatible transitionary type of future land use that we could identify with throughout the comprehensive plan in terms of the general close surrounding area, as well as a bit broader lens. We would have looked at that half-mile radius, however, because these are such giant parcels, we did not feel that that is the holistic effect of our property. So we looked at a broader range at that 2-mile rate, which does show that we have some more influence on the general development scheme. And then we also look at how we transition from Babcock further westward, and because of our alignment on Babcock, which is an arterial roadway, it does have the capacity in the future as we start to phase into this development. And of course, that's the last component that I'd like to reach out on, is that the phasing is what's going to keep us compatible throughout time periods. So with the plan unit development zoning district, there's going to be phasing associated with it, and at specific stages of that development, there will be enhancements or mitigation efforts that Kim and James have both discussed today, such as enhancements to Babcock that might have to occur through developments around this area. So those mitigation effects will eventually cause this to be more compatible as more houses are built throughout that time period. And I'll throw it back to Kim for further efforts.
Yes, this is just the summation. This is what Mr. Ball was talking about. We've gone through LPA, we're at County Commission. If you approve a future land use amendment, it goes up to the state, then it will come back for an adoption hearing along with the PUD zoning with the preliminary development plan. And so with that, we would request approval of the residential 4 for the 1,109 acres, 0.57 acres. And we're here to answer questions, or we can hear the public and answer questions later, whichever you prefer.
Okay, let's let the public speak at this particular point in time. Please try not to repeat yourselves. I know this is an emotional issue for you and things of that nature. Why would your hand be up? Yes, ma'am?
I'm from Deer Run, and most of us are. And what we did with the planning and zoning is we had one person speak so that we didn't take up all the time of the 5 minutes. And we have a statement that we could do that again, which will, instead of having 55 minutes of speakers.
You may be my best friend ever. If there is one person from Deer Run that would like to speak in behalf of all of the residents there, I may just have to go buy you a candy bar or something.
Oh, thank you. A lozenge will be good because I lost my voice.
Okay.
Okay, my name
Yeah, I'll
is.
go through them. Yeah, right.
Okay, my name is Teresa
Tressa,
Torciello.
1 second, please.
Sure.
Has anybody, do you know if anybody's filled out a card? That's,
All of us have.
You all have filled out a card, and you're all in agreement with this particular scenario? Okay, we're good. Thank you. Sorry, I want to interrupt you again.
And that's quite all right. We've been here before, so we know how it goes. My name is Teresa Torciello. I live at 267 Deer Run Road in Palm Bay, Florida. I am the president of the Deer Run Homeowners Association and Equestrian Development. Deer Run is a Brevard County community established in the 1980s. We are zoned residential 1, 2.5, meaning one home per 2.5 acres. We are an equestrian development with our own horse facilities, including a $60,000 arena. We have had the pleasure of living in Brevard County as the only housing development in this area. We feel privileged to be able to live among the wildlife, and as another Deer Run resident stated, we cherish the peaceful lifestyle. Deer Run has proven that a harmonious coexistence with nature is possible. We are surrounded to the east by the Miko Scrub Sanctuary, which is an eel program. Those not familiar with eel is the Environmentally Endangered Lands Program, which acquires, protects, and maintains environmentally endangered for resources, stewardship, and ecosystem management. EEL protects the rich biological diversity that Brevard County for future generations. The Miko Scrub Sanctuary protects 1,322 acres of Brevard's remaining scrubby flatwoods and mesic flatwoods habitat and is directly across the street from where Sunterra wants to change the zoning. This mosaic of seasonal marshes and dry flatwoods shelters many indigenous species of plants and animals that cannot be found anywhere else in this county. These indigenous species and endangered animals are right across the street where they want to build 3,200 homes. Obviously, this is not compatible with the existing environment. Next to the Scrub Sanctuary was a mine that is now privately owned. The owner has refused to sell any portion of that property to anyone. Instead, she plans on it being for her family only. It's considered R1 2.5. To the southeast of Deer Run is the St. Sebastian River Preserve Park. To the southwest is the T.M. Goodwin Waterfowl Management Area. We are surrounded by Brevard County's environmentally endangered plants and animals. In Deer Run, we get to see and enjoy our endangered neighbors. The gopher turtle, the Florida scrub jay, the sandhill cranes, bald eagle, the osprey, just to name a few. We love the fact that these endangered animals have made a home in our area. Chapter 1 of the Brevard County Comprehensive Plan, Policy 96, states that prior to development of any county-owned property, an environmental assessment should be completed which would analyze the impact of the proposed development on the natural resources and wildlife habitat of the property. Sunterra isn't providing a study to ensure the wildlife habitat of the existing property, making sure it's not affected. No, they want you to rezone it now without the information of what will be affected if they put in 3,200 homes. They claim they will do this after you rezone. Well, how can you rezone an area without valid information of what kind of damage would be caused to the existing wildlife and natural resources? This isn't something to take lightly. Do not allow a developer to put the cart before the horse. Know the specifics. Don't rush into making a decision that generations for years will pay for. Sunterra wants you to rezone them to R4 with the commitment of building a maximum of 3 dwellings per acre. This, of course, is with a density count, and the reality is that it'll be 32 plus 100 homes that they plan on building. It will not be 3 per acre. It's more like 13 homes per acre. At the Sunterra meeting held prior to the planning and zoning meeting, Sunterra explained that some houses will be on a 40 by 80 plot. 40 by 80. Yet Sunterra stands here and says it will be a smooth transition. We have 1 house per 2.5 acres to 1 house on 40 by 80. That is not a smooth transition and is completely illogical to the existing neighborhood. Zoning and Planning is recommending a residential 2, which would equate to 2,164 homes, which would be over 4,300 additional vehicles being added to the area, and also not a logical transition from an R1 2.5, which would be, actually, if they did an R1 2.5, would be approximately 432 homes in that area. Surprisingly, at our meeting, Zoning and Planning asked Sunterra if they would be willing to zone R2. We should not be asking the developer if they're willing to do so. We should be following the Brevard County Comprehensive Plan that clearly states what a logical transition is. A request for a zone change must be consistent with the comprehensive plan for the area and be consistent with surrounding usages. Rezoning an area that has low density to high density is not consistent with the comprehensive plan. Centerra will state that Waterstone is R4 and Cypress Bay is R4, as well as some others. The fact is, they're all Palm Bay developments, not Brevard County. We need to compare apples to apples. We all know that Palm Bay will annex and build anything for tax revenue. They don't care about the environment or the impacts to roads, neighbors, or natural resources. They have mishandled the funding from the DOT in regards to Heritage Parkway, hence the inconsistency with their own 10-year plan, and they need revenue to pay back the $9 million loan that they took to complete the parkway. We are still awaiting. Is that going to stop eventually?
No. Well, yes, ma'am.
Okay. We are still awaiting the completion of the St. John's Heritage Parkway alternate corridor to alleviate traffic in that area. There are 14 miles not completed, but let's add 4,000 to 6,000 more cars in the area, and we also know it's not funded. The county has prided themselves in keeping consistent with transitions that are logical. The county's comprehensive plan states being logical over and over throughout that plan.
Yeah, we've added 5 more minutes for you since.
Well, if we do, it's going to be 20 total, because it was instead of having 55 minutes. So, or we could have them each come up and speak.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Are we concerned here that we're providing more time to the individuals as opposed to the applicant? I mean, I find an inconsistency.
Okay. So our choice is, from what I'm hearing from this lovely lady, that we either give her the total of 20 minutes or we hear every one of these cards. So I'm going to leave that up to the commission on what you'd like to do. Personally speaking, I'd like to just let her get through this and waive the rest of their times and move forward. But if the commission would like to do something different, I'm willing to do whatever the commission desires.
I'm not sure what to do. I know in the past, we've never allowed somebody to take over another person's time at this type of a thing, so this is totally different for me. So it's new territory.
If it helps, we have done this in the past with Deer Run
We have-
before
Okay.
coming to a different commission.
Thank you so much. Morris, please, you have a comment?
The rules allow for that. It's at the discretion of the chair and the board in the case of a quasi-judicial item, but this is legislative, so the chair has a lot of leeway in running.
We're going
the
to
meeting.
compromise and give you another 10 minutes, okay?
I'll try to go as fast as I can. To the north of Centerra are individual landowners who are zoned as R1 to 5. To the south is Deer Run, zoned R1 2.5. Centerra will be surrounded by single-family homes on 2.5 acres minimum. So how is the logical transition from Deer Run, one house on 2.5, to 13 homes, back to one house on 2.5, which is Willowbrook? There is absolutely nothing logical about that. You need to not look at what is 4 miles down the road, but what is directly next door and will be adversely affected. The logical response, according to what's written words of the Brevard County Comprehensive Plan, is that the zoning should be R1 to 2.5. Keep it consistent with the existing properties that surround Centerra. Deer Run is approximately 1,600 acres, larger than Centerra, with one entrance. Centerra is proposing 5 entrances on Babcock. So Centerra will be adjacent to the Deer Run entrance, taking a quiet residential entrance and making it a highway since the crossroad is Micco. Deer Run Road is county, so we all know one of the entrances to Centerra will connect with Deer Run. We will adversely impact those who live at the beginning of Deer Run. The traffic of up to 6,000 vehicles, 3,200 homes, 2 cars per home as criteria will turn Deer Run entrance into an entrance of a huge development. It would create a dangerous situation for our residents who ride horses and cross Babcock to go to the Scrub Sanctuary trails, for the endangered animals who cross the road daily, and it will disrupt the quality of life for residents in Deer Run. A wildlife corridor is an area of habitat that connects wildlife populations separated by the human activities or structures. We know there is a wildlife corridor crossing Babcock Road. By adding a massive development, increasing Babcock to a 4-lane highway, how do you propose to protect these endangered animals? We are unique in South Brevard that these endangered animals have chosen to live. Policy 912 Brevard County Natural Resource Management Habitats will comply with the countywide scrub jay habitat. If you allow 13 homes per acre, that will wipe out the natural habitat that already exists on the Centerra property. These animals are already there. Let's discuss Babcock. We have also concerns about the infrastructure. How can Babcock withstand another 6,000 vehicles, each home averaging 2 vehicles? The impact fees, yes, will assist, but Will those impact fees help us in 2 years, 4 years, after they sell so many houses? An interesting article in Business Markets last week stated 2 states where home prices are falling because there are too many houses being built currently. That's Florida and Texas. Look around, we're inundated. Palm Bay is number 2 in the state of Florida for the most foreclosures. That's really pathetic. Part of the comprehensive plan states that the county must ensure that new development will not bring down existing prices. We know there are homes currently being built, and making the zoning not consistent with the surrounding areas will impact the quality of life that Deer Run currently has. How will you avoid our prices from dropping? Nowhere else in the county are you going to find homes in a development with a minimum of 2.5 acres. Our houses that are the average new home in Deer Run are valued at $800,000 to $1.1 million currently today. So we come before this commission, they come before this commission without looking into consistent transition of the neighborhood. We asked them if they would look at a 1 to 2.5. No, they don't do that. There is no reason that Sunterra doesn't keep consistent with the area. It should also be noted that Babcock Street from southern corporate limits of the city of Palm Bay to the Indian River County line is considered a scenic route in the state of Florida. How is that route going to continue when we disrupt it with a 4-lane highway going through the scrub sanctuary? Who's going to be responsible for the long-term maintenance on Babcock? They're talking about different phases being built out. That means loads of dump trucks going in and out of the area for years and breaking up Babcock. When each phase is completed, will Sunterra's responsibility be out there and check to make sure Babcock is still good? Or are they going to be long gone and the taxpayers get to foot the bill as we have been doing? What about hurricane evacuation routes? Adding to these vehicles in the area is also concerned. In 2004, when we evacuated, it took 9 hours to get to Georgia. I-95 is not changing. Those roads haven't widened. It's the same. But the area that we live in has. We have too many vehicles now, and we do not have sufficient ways of getting out. The traffic study that Sunterra talks about on Babcock is over a year old, and that's prior to the build-outs of Waterstone and Cypress Bay and Micka Road. These concerns should not be pushed aside, and they are real and affect those of us who live here. Staying consistent with zoning as the comprehensive plan states will ensure we can manage with existing infrastructure. Increasing zoning to numbers that our existing infrastructure can't handle is not logical. Land use capability with existing and future development must include the established neighborhoods. We are established. The planning of the Complete Streets program also needs to be considered, and all users, including horse riders, need to be considered. We're an existing equestrian development, and that must include the safety as well as sidewalks for pedestrians and bike lanes. No talk about that. Everything Sunterra brings in here is with the caveat that it will be resolved in the PUD in the future. We live here now. We don't want to wait for the future of what's going to occur. Our commissioners don't change the plan to increase revenue as Palm Bay has. You've been consistent from Titusville down to Palm Bay with ensuring that existing neighborhoods are not negatively impacted. You have always put the existing taxpayers first, and we're asking that you continue to do so. I am skipping because you took away some time here, but Sunterra will tell you there will be natural buffers. Once the invasive trees are removed, there are no natural buffers left. There's a canal, and that canal is not 100 feet wide, and that will not stop the noise. Some homes will have a 50-foot buffer to that lake, the recreational lake, and we have homes that will have multiple sides facing Sunterra, so their property backs up to 2 different sides. This recreational lake, who's the lake for? They're not having, since this is not a gated community, that means anyone can utilize the lake, motorboats, skidoos, parties, fireworks, traffic in and out. This backs up right to Deer Run, where our arena is. Who's going to regulate this? Who's going to regulate having thousands of people coming in and out? When talking about transitioning, Sunterra likes to bring up Palm Bay developments. We're not discussing that here. Please only use what the county has. And what surrounds Sunterra is all land that is residential 1 to 2.5. Okay, one of the other administrative policies, in addition to the factors specified in Administrative Policies 2, 3, and 4, is reviewing a rezoning, conditional use permit, or other applicant for development approval, the impact of the proposed use or uses on transportation facilities. The criteria is whether adopted levels of service will be compromised. Yes, that's easy to see. Police, fire, schools, infrastructure, all is going to be compromised. The closest police that we have is on Malabar Road County. We have no fire department. The closest is Barefoot Bay. And Palm Bay will be putting up a new fire department, but they don't have EMT or paramedic services. So the only county rescue we have is next to Bayside High School. How are you going to handle all of this county? Our neighborhood, with the projected traffic impacts of the proposed use, would materially and adversely impact the safety and welfare of residents in existing residential neighborhoods. Without a doubt, the homes in front of Deer Run will be negatively impacted, extra traffic impacting horse trails. Deer Run homes that surround Centerra on two sides will be negatively impacted. Our neighborhood will be adversely affected. Everyone in Deer Run will have a change because of Centerra. Let's talk about drainage problems for a moment. That's a big concern in Deer Run. We discussed drainage, stormwater drainage, and surprisingly to us, Centerra said they will pump in the Satilli Canal, which is there's currently a $3.57 million stormwater park being built to help capture the pollution from the Satilli prior to entering the Sebastian River, which is a major tributary, as you know. The lagoon, as you know, in Sebastian River is horribly polluted, yet we're going to add another 3,200 homes to drain off into the stormwater drainage. If they don't pump into the Satilli, they go into Satori's Lake, which the county put a pump in to stop the flooding into Deer Run. Additional stormwater from 1,100 acres will flood Deer Run. Is the county ready to install a permanent second pump in Deer Run? Is the county ready to have an auxiliary pump ready for backup? Who will pay for this? Deer Run gave up 10 years of paving our roads for that pump. We have no intentions of doing it again because we can avoid that with logical decisions. A development should not adversely impact Deer Run and cause us flooding. Centerra had no ideas about the flooding issue that Deer Run had, so obviously the research into what will be impacted by this development is sorely missing information. We need to keep the area consistent with zoning to not impact existing neighborhoods. There was a lot more: fire, police, protection. When the schools are all at capacity now, you can go on Brevard County's site. We are not at 85. We are frozen. 4 of our schools right now are frozen. So since you've limited me up, I'm going to go right to the end and say that Deer Run would love for this area to be zoned R1 to 2.5, one home per 2.5 acres to have continuity, to enjoy the beautiful wildlife and peaceful setting. We all have seen the county's plans for this area for years, and we loved it. We do not want to look out into our backyards and see rows of houses on top of each other. There's a sense of inner peace and contentment looking out and seeing nature, seeing animals thriving, and hearing the sounds of birds. We get to see this breathtaking scenery. A peaceful living and wonder and tranquility is what one finds in Deer Run. Brevard's county vision has always respected the environment and to protect it for future generations.
Okay,
We are
ma'am.
requesting, I'm just going to do my request in my 5 seconds. We are requesting this zoning request to be denied for anything except a residential one.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me go to, anybody on the board have any questions first before I turn this over to Commissioner Pritchett? Absolutely.
Good evening again, Chairman Steele, members of County Commission, Kim Rezanka on behalf of the Sunterra Communities and Gen Florida. I just wanted to reiterate, this is just a transmittal hearing for future land use. It's not zoning. 99% of what the president of the HOA brought up is zoning matters. This is future land use. It's not high density. It's Res 4, low density. The comprehensive plan does not require it be adjacent. It actually says consistency with emerging patterns of surrounding development. FLU Objective 1 requires development to meet or exceed established levels of service, which this project will do if we get to the zoning stage and the PD stage where we actually have lot lines, and the lot lines will actually show the transition to the sizes and these very large buffers, as you can recall from the bubble plan we presented. So again, this is baby steps. Not all the engineering's been done. What has been done has been necessary to get to this stage. More will be required before we even come to you with a PUD zoning. We'll have to have a development agreement in place and proportionate fair share agreements. The level of service issue is especially provided for in Florida statutes and contemplated so growth can move forward. And that's what we're trying to do, is move growth forward. It's already there. There's more coming. And these roads and schools and fire and safety issues will all be addressed through proportionate fair shares and development agreement. So with that, I'd request that you approve the residential 4. And also, there's a small community commercial component of 27 acres. So it's actually one motion, but they're 2 different future land uses. So with
Okay.
that, if there's questions, the team is here, the engineers are here, so we're available to answer any questions.
I'm certain none of the people on this commission are shy, so I'm certain that will happen if you needs to. The Commissioner Goodson, do you have any questions? I don't want to ignore you because I can't see you.
No, sir, I don't.
Okay. Commissioner Pritchett, would you take the floor, please?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Could I ask one question of Kim real quick? I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. I think one of the things that was interesting is there's going to be this open lake, and that will be available to people who don't live there. Is it a deed-restricted community, and that will be part of an HOA?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It'll be HOA, and that is intended to be private, that lake. There may be public parks to be open, but those would be further closer to Babcock Street. It is not anticipated that 110-acre lake will be open to the public.
Okay, very good.
Thank you, Commissioner Feltner. Time doesn't stand still. I stood out off Babcock Street in 1982 when Deer Run was being built. You had drainage problems then. You still have drainage problems today. I'd like to share with you the reason I'm going to not make you happy tonight, at least with my motion, and that is for a variety of different reasons. Space Coast TV, would you put up my aerial? When you look at this aerial, you're going to see where the Heritage Parkway is. You're going to see where Babcock is. You're going to see where Sunterra's project is. And you're going to see a lot of property. Now, the only way possible, now I made disclosures to to Morris Richardson in regards to, I did go down, I did drive to the site. I spoke to Mr. Dunn twice. I spoke to Kim Rezanka once. But the most important thing to me, because this is something that's in my district, is we have to figure out how we're going to fix all that nonsense that's down there. And trust me when I tell you, it pains me to sit here in front of you good folks and say, sorry, but guess what? Deer Run's not the only project in the world for Brevard County. There is tremendous growth that's going to happen. The Beltway out there is going to alleviate a variety of a variety of the backup in traffic, and I appreciate your comments in regard to this, but let me tell you, I have talked to the property owners out there, so I know what's going on too. So that Beltway has got to be completed. Babcock has got to be done. And Ms. Rezanka, in my motion, I'm going to ask that Sunterra give us a 2-acre parcel for a fire station there. We have so many problems there that the only way we're ever going to be able to fix them is impact fees and a development plan. And I guarantee you, they're not going to be the only ones that are coming down there. I talked to 3 other people that have like 7,000 acres that are going to be doing the same thing. And the only way we're going to be able to increase the ad valorem taxes, get the money that we need to do to improve all of the things that were down there, is to get some units built. Now, I would like to say that time stops and you can have what you had back in 1982, but it doesn't. And with that, I would like to move that we approve the residential 4 with a cap of 3 with the contingency that they give us 2 acres of land for a fire station.
And a community commercial, 27 acres.
And 27 acres of commercial.
Okay, I have a motion on the table. Commissioner Tobias, are you trying to speak?
No, I was just trying to add in the community commercial. Mr. Chair, do you want me to add in the plan amendment numbers and all that good nonsense, or is that?
Yeah, you probably ought to.
Okay.
Jeff, do you think that needs, or Ted, does that need to go in here? Are we all right with doing it the way I just did it? Okay, Morris.
I think the motion is sufficient as.
Okay,
as
thank you.
stated.
All right, good.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Tobias. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Commissioner Steele.
Commissioner Goodson, did you say yes or no?
He said yes, Lee.
Said no.
Oh, no?
Okay, that's 4-1, it still passes. Thank you, Commissioner Goodson, for your input tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. No, sir.
What was the reason for the zoning and zoning?
Sir? Please. All right, thank you very much. All right, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Oh, we got.
We have a public comment, okay. Frank? Okay, if you do not stop, I will have you, the officers remove you from this facility. Stop, now. Frank Gofffield, did you have a comment? Okay, yes, sir, come on up. Sorry.
Nothing compared to what y'all just listened to. I do have a folder, may I give you all a folder?
I'll hand it out. I'll pass it out for you. Sir? I'll pass it out for you.
How many are there?
My name's Frank Caulfield. I reside at 428 Port Royal Boulevard in Satellite Beach. On February the 6th, I called code enforcement to ask which part of the county code pertains to building residential docks in unincorporated Brevard County. I left a voicemail requesting a callback. Denny Long, a code enforcement supervisor, returned my call on February the 8th. He shared with me that Section 62-2118 of the Brevard County Code must be followed when building docks or piers in unincorporated Brevard County. He emailed me a copy. The code violations involved in the application process and the construction of the double dock at 424 Port Royal Boulevard are clearly defined in Section 62-2118. I submitted a code violation complaint to Denny Long on February the 12th. Case number 24CE00167 was assigned. I submitted an addendum to the original complaint on February the 22nd, citing specific codes and statutes the homeowners and building and permitting failed to follow. Including building and permitting as part of my code violation complaint changed the direction of the investigation, in my opinion. When professional relationships come into play during an investigation, there is a perceived need to protect the organization we work for. Throughout Mr. Long's investigation, he staunchly defended the county's approval of the building permit. It was impossible for him to find the homeowner in violation of any state or county code. To do so would require him to find building and permitting had failed to follow state or county codes during the building permit approval process. That's a difficult position at best. I have spent the past 3 months researching and studying the Brevard County, Florida Code of Ordinances, as well as state building codes and statutes. While the Department of Planning and Development has discretion in enforcing laws, it does not have the authority to ignore or supplant the county code. There are limits to how far it can deviate from its obligation. On April the 1st, Billy Prasad, Deputy Director of Planning and Development, sent an email to me stating the county's position. He is confident the Board of Commissioners will support his position. I understand where that confidence comes from. After serving our country for 21 years in the United States Army and Brevard County communities for 26 years as a classroom teacher, I understand the sense of loyalty and trust that develops within an organization. Those in leadership positions, such as yourselves, trust the guidance and information provided to them by members of the organization to be based in fact and the rule of law. Unfortunately, some cases, errors are made. I believe errors were made in this case. I spent several weeks cross-referencing the county's position as stated by Mr. Prasad with state and county codes and requirements. The position taken by Mr. Prasad does not stand up under that review. I believe his position runs contrary to several Florida statutes and more than a dozen codes. Can I
Thank you,
finish?
sir. That's, your time is up.
I didn't get to the point why I was here.
Well, I don't know. You'll have to ask yourself that question.
Well, the reason can I ask you what, can I?
No, sir.
Okay.
Commissioner Tobias, did you have a question or anything that you want to talk? Is there any other discussion this evening?
If that, Mr. Caulfield is a constituent of mine, if it would be amenable, I'd like to yield him a couple of minutes.
That's
to
fine, yes,
finish his
sir.
thought.
Mr.
Okay?
Caulfield, come on up.
Sir,
How much time you want to give him, sir?
can you, in 2 minutes, sir, could you?
Oh, I'm sorry,
Okay.
I went over, I actually rehearsed this several times today.
Don't
Okay.
worry about that, sir. We're fine.
I spent several weeks cross-referencing the county's position as stated by Mr. Prasad with state and county code requirements. The position taken by Mr. Prasad does not stand up under the review. I believe his position runs contrary to several Florida statutes and more than a dozen county codes. I also have information from the county that contradicts Mr. Prasad's position. And that's what brings me here tonight. My wife and I bought our forever home in 2017, and we worked our whole life to get it. I believe that the investigation that was conducted in error, and I request an opportunity to present that as an agenda item. My finding is an agenda item to the commissioners. So tonight I'm simply requesting that someone sponsor me so that I can come before the commissioners as an agenda item and explain my findings in this case. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there any further business this evening? Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Do you want to do reports? Okay, let's go.
All right, thank you. The county manager's office received a call yesterday from Space Florida, and they are in the process of requesting a federal community project funding of $5 million that Congressman Posey's office is looking to sponsor and move forward with the Appropriations Committee this Friday. And in order to move that forward, and this is for redirecting water, wastewater from U.S. Space Force treatment facility on the Barrier Islands to the Sykes Creek facility. They need would like a letter of support from the commission. And so I have a draft of that letter that if the board approves it, we could move forward, have the chair sign this evening, and I need to give it to Space Florida representative tomorrow morning. This particular project is aligned with our larger regional water, wastewater treatment plant facility concept that we're moving forward, trying to get grants for, that relates to Port St. John. It's also consistent with grant applications and planning documents that are associated with the Sykes Creek water, wastewater treatment plant and our future regional plant that we're going to have on the mainland. And so if the board would like to move forward on this, I need a motion, and then we will have the chair sign the letter that I've handed out, and we will get it to Space Florida tomorrow morning.
I'll make that motion, sir, to direct the chair to sign the letter. Okay.
May I ask a question first?
Yes, sir.
Okay, here's my question, Frank. We have constantly asked them to let us drain our water into their ditch on North Merritt Island, and they have kind of acted like it was a hot iron on their behind. Why would we not get something out of this deal? That if we're going to help them, why would they not help us?
Like I said earlier, Commissioner, this request came in yesterday afternoon, so I had very limited information. I do know that the reason they're requesting this is for them to move forward with any expansion up there in the Space Florida area. They have reached capacity with the current facility that Space Force is dealing with, and we do have the capacity available at Sykes Creek. They are partnering with us as we look for the a resiliency grant to help us with a project on the mainland. That project, so this is all in in an effort to get the facilities, and eventually it would also include the Sykes Creek facility, would be moving over, all that wastewater treatment would be moving over to the mainland. This would be done because we have capacity at Sykes Creek available, and they do not have any, and therefore they wouldn't be able to move forward with any additional projects up there that Space Florida is trying to do. So that's really what I know about it, and that's why I'm sorry I don't have a draft of that for you here for that letter. I could read it to you if you'd like.
No, that's not it. I'm just asking, why do we give up something and not get anything in return? Why would we not
Let me ask a question of Commissioner
put our
Good.
water in their ditch?
Let me ask the question of Commissioner Goodson. Have we even sent a letter to them asking for that?
I have asked, my office has asked, because of the constant complaint of flooding, and Susan Jackson has asked, and really got nowhere that I'm aware of.
Okay, have we sent an official letter?
No, we have not. We
Okay,
have not
well then
sent a
that's,
letter.
I mean, I think,
But at the same token, it seems like every time we vote on something, it's a hurry to get it done. It's overnight. Let's vote now. And we're giving up 15% of our sewer plants and wastewater for a private entity. Let them build a bigger plant.
Would you prefer instead that we put this on the agenda for the next commission
I
meeting?
think we
I
can't.
was
Timing is the
told-
issue.
Yeah, I was told that for the funding request for this particular grant request for the community project funding, that Space Florida received a phone call from Congressman Posey's office saying that they needed this Friday morning. And we received it yesterday afternoon, Commissioner, otherwise I wouldn't be bringing it to you this evening.
I hear you, and I understand. It amazes me that
It's for a grant.
it has to be tonight.
No, it's for a
All right,
grant.
let's try to figure out where we are here.
Can I just one follow-up? I think this is part of a larger future grant that DOD is going to do for wastewater treatment facility to help us move off of Merritt Island. Is that?
It's a
does that
separate,
seem
no,
fair?
this is a separate grant. This is a community project grant that Congressman Posey would be sponsoring. This is for a line from their facility to our Sykes Creek facility. It is aligned with a longer-term, different grant project that we're looking to build a facility on the mainland, but that is several years down the line.
Understood.
And we're working on grants for planning and development of that particular project as well.
Okay, is there a motion?
Motion to send it.
Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Felton. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
No.
Okay. Commissioner Goodson, I respectfully asked you if you would be kind enough to draft something, sponsor an agenda item for this, and maybe we can get something done in an official letter. So I agree with you, and I just think that we need to do it in an official capacity.
Well, I don't know how much more get fair with me asking, the county asking. But if you think it will do good, I'll be glad to give it to you.
Well, I think if we send them a letter that's been approved by the whole county commission, that's going to be easier or better and carry more weight than just somebody calling up there and asking to do it.
Maybe think of a project to do with it.
Well,
Right.
Ask 'em.
I'm not,
Right.
I don't think that Susan Jackson is somebody. I don't think staff is somebody. When they are trying to alleviate flooding in North Merritt Island and help the residents, if you want me to put it in blood, I'll get it to you, okay?
Thank you very much, sir. I think it's a great idea, and Susan Jackson's obviously part of the county, but when the whole board does it,
Right.
it gets a little bit more power than Susan Jackson.
May I comment?
Yes, ma'am. Commissioner Pritchett.
I just want to mention on this, Commissioner Goodson, I understand what you're saying, and we need to go work on that. The part that gets my attention is to be able to have future permits for different types of space industry, because that's really helping our economy. So that's why I really want to get rid of this wastewater going onto your barrier items, and maybe even bring it more inland. We're working on a project to bring it up to a certain area. Yeah, so, but I appreciate it, sir.
Okay. All right, I'm overly joyed.
Okay. Commissioner Tobias, do you have a report?
No report, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Pritchett? Commissioner Feltner?
No report, sir.
Commissioner Richardson?
Please don't
County
elevate
Attorney?
me to those lofty heights. No reports, sir.
Okay, thank you.
How about me, Chair?
I was just getting to you because I
I
wouldn't.
would not dare have a report. No, I have none.
Okay. You have no report. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's right, sir.
Thank you so much. Now, let's get back to where I was. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Okay, there's a motion by Commissioner Pritchett to adjourn. It's been seconded by Commissioner Feltner, even though I didn't hear it come out of his mouth. I'll second it. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you so very much.
The opinions expressed by any member of the public during any period of public comment do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, or the program sponsor, and are solely those of the presenter. The Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, and the program sponsor hereby expressly disclaim any and all responsibility or liability for any defamatory or slanderous statements expressed by any member of the public during any such period.